街で見るいつもの新聞いつものテレビどこ行ってもすぐそこに心ハムスルーでどこ行ってもすぐそこに笑顔溢れてるいつだって Yeah 途方に暮れて迷っても君を待つ家の光いつだってラララララ
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the GameNight Podcast. As always, I am your host, Tyler, or This is Geekish, and I am joined today by my two wonderful co-hosts. First, we have Jetpack Ahoy,
Hi.
and also joining us today, we have Tanner, the editor.
What's up?
We'd like to thank you guys again for coming to another episode. We appreciate it as always. We have plenty of stuff to talk about today. I just want to make a disclaimer at the beginning here. I do think we're going to talk about some of the Twitch stuff that's been going on as far as the allegations and assaults and all of that. We're going to try to keep it light, but, you know, just as a disclaimer, obviously we're sorry to any of the victims that have had to go through this, and we obviously want all of the platforms to be as safe a space as any. We'll get into that, but just so we're clear, nothing we say isn't intended for disrespect or anything like that. Any jokes that made are not out of malice or anything like that. Obviously, we support and stand with the people that were hurt. But
I would also like to make a disclaimer that apparently my phone is dying. So
there's that. But with that being said,
not my phone, my camera. Sorry. It's just
you
not
guys,
working.
Yeah, we can always give you a do what Tanner does and just give you a something where your face cam would be. But if you guys haven't heard, recently a large amount of people came out against people that are streamers in the streaming community, employed at Twitch, mods for streamers, YouTubers, pretty much the entire spectrum of people involved in Twitch streaming. Had been outed for a lot of them have apparently committed or knowingly enabled sexual assault.
Of some
Allegedly,
sort.
yeah.
Allegedly.
Some of it is confirmed, some of it's unconfirmed. So as a whole, I'm just going to say allegedly.
For the sake of legality,
Our lawyers told us.
For the
Our
sake
lawyers
of,
told us to say allegedly.
For the sake of legality, everything that we're about to mention in regards to Twitch and any sort of sex crimes is all alleged.
Yes,
and
it's just going off of what has been posted online, our personal opinions, and previous experiences up until this point.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say it, just outright, the scene is fucked.
The scene is super, super fucked, and I think a lot of people have known it's been this way for a long time.
Yeah, and that's one of the worst parts about it. I mean, don't get me wrong, obviously the actual acts and that sort of thing, it's all bad, but how many people have known about it and haven't said anything or just let it go? They're gonna change, they didn't mean that, they didn't know. No, they knew.
Yeah, and it's
and you knew it was wrong.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, it sucks that it sucks that a lot of these things happened years ago, because I've been supporting some of these creators for years and years now, and it's like, if I would have known the extent of some of these things, obviously I wouldn't subscribe to them on Twitch or watch their videos and in turn, give them money for them to continue doing stuff like this. So it sucks that it sucks that I now feel bad for supporting someone who is essentially a rapist. And it could have been prevented. And I understand, obviously, you should tell your story when you feel comfortable with it. I understand there's a lot of complications that go into reporting, and how some people, how some people don't believe you, how there can be a lot of things. It can be a very stressful situation in all. But, sometimes if you just want to give that name to someone who will leak it, you don't have to, the whole story doesn't have to necessarily come out. And we talked about this briefly before the podcast. It's just like, if you know someone is doing bad, you should give that information to someone. Like,
absolutely.
Direct names don't have to be involved, but if you seriously think that someone may be up to no good, regardless of how much evidence you have, it might be for the best to give some sort of a, hey, watch out for this person, sort of a vibe.
And it's like, there's news channels of all sizes. So it's like, there's someone you can go to that will report it and keep you anonymous.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people are dealing with this really strange sense of, it's not my place to say anything. That's not entirely correct. I feel like maybe it's not your story to tell. Like, you can't tell it from their perspective, but you can speak up about what you see and what you're experiencing.
Yeah, 100%.
What you know.
It's like, and also it's just like the prevention of it happening to anybody else. Because it's like, as long as you go on letting people think that these people are good people, like, they're probably going to hurt other people.
Absolutely.
Obviously, not everybody who offends reoffends, but it's very common that if someone doesn't get caught doing something wrong, they're probably going to do it again.
Yep.
And so I think, there's more thought that could go into this, and a lot of this stuff should have come out sooner, even if it wasn't the full story. And I understand, I'm not dumb. I understand that these claims without the full story usually fall upon deaf ears. I understand that if you just call someone a rapist with no evidence or anything, most people probably won't believe you. But if you get that out there, you might encourage some of these stories to come out. And that's when, we get a movement like this, where we have dozens and dozens of girls coming out, supporting these claims with evidence, receipts, messages, screenshots. Like, and that's the thing about, like, some of these are so cut and dry, like, this person's guilty.
Yeah.
Like, without a doubt, this person's guilty. And then there's some that are, up to interpretation, to where you could be like, well, this may be a little sleazy, but I wouldn't necessarily call it sexual assault.
Yeah.
And so I think the fact that so many of these came out all at once, it's hard to talk about it, because I can talk about specific situations.
Yeah.
Like, I for instance, I'm going to go on a hot take here. So far, for what I've seen about the Syndicate situation, I think he was targeted. I have seen no evidence to support the claims that he committed those acts. Everything I have seen has been in favor of him maybe being an asshole, but the sex was consensual, and the sex with the other girl I just don't think ever happened. But again, that's just based on what I've seen. If new evidence presents itself, I will look at it and adjust my opinion accordingly. But that's just based on what I've seen, versus something like the Minilab situation, where that's pretty cut and dry. There's so much evidence, it's kind of irrefutable.
Well, in Minilab, pretty much,
he admitted it.
He admitted it, like, as much as he could without incriminating himself,
Yes.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, as much as he could admit while still trying to save face, which there's no saving face in that situation. There's not. Like, I mean, the manipulation, the gaslighting, and just the overall fact that he knew that he was speaking with an underage, a minor.
Yeah, I was like, and there's going to be arguments that he was in Ireland at the time, and the age of consent in Ireland is 16, which is how old she was at the beginning of the conversation. But she was in America, right. And I did some research, and according to the laws in most first world countries, the laws are applicable by where the minor is, not by where the adult is.
Right. You guys will have to excuse me. I'm throwing stuff at my child.
You're good.
He won't be quiet.
Hey.
Not okay. And in my defense, not big stuff.
Not big
It was
stuff.
like a piece of a zip tie, just trying
I'm
to get
not
his attention.
daddy-o-fiving.
Yeah. I'm not like throwing my mug at him.
Yeah. But yeah, it is like Minilab, that's probably the one that's hit me the hardest. Just because it's like that's someone that not only I have supported, but I don't know how much people in our group want to talk about it, but I know someone in our group has provided a lot of support to Minilab in a financial aspect. And so obviously that's a huge fucking blow, because you're like, I have spent hundreds of dollars like buying stuff from this dude because I thought he was a good person, and then this all comes out.
The tough part of it is like it's something that we've dealt with before.
Yeah.
Last year,
Yeah.
you know, when all of the allegations were made against, you know, the King Nappy, like I was a huge supporter of Nappy. I loved his content. I loved pretty much everything that he did. I mean, a lot of
merch, subscribed on Twitch, all of it. Like,
to be completely honest and open, the entire reason I started doing YouTube was because I wanted to do what he was doing.
yeah, I mean, if you haven't watched previous episodes of the podcast, in the first couple episodes, we discussed that the King Nappy's the reason this podcast exists. 125%. If he hadn't retweeted my tweet, none of us would know each other.
That's right. But I mean, that doesn't change
What
my
happened.
views on what happened. I mean, what happened. It is, you know, it is what it is. And obviously my heart goes out to any of the, you know, victims, survivors, whatever you want to call it. It's just, it's what I'm basically getting at here is it's not the first time that we've seen this. It's not the first time that we've dealt with this. And unfortunately, these types of things come in waves. Well, unfortunately, fortunately, I guess that's all depends on how you want to look at it.
It's unfortunate that it happens. It's fortunate that these people are getting outed.
Yeah, well, I mean, even that sounds kind of weird.
I was like, it's bad wording, but
right.
it's good we know who is committing crimes.
One thing that I want to say is I don't want anyone that is a fan of any of these people to feel guilty, because ultimately
it's not your
someone
fault, man.
that didn't know, it ultimately comes down to people that were complicit in what they were doing. What they did is awful, but also awful people are people that know that other people are doing bad things. If you were someone that was close to a creator and you know that they were getting into some dubious things sexually, and you didn't say anything about it, and you just waited for these allegations to come out, that is a poor reflection of your character. However, if you're just a fan that bought their merch or whatever, in your eyes, whenever you were watching them, you didn't see that as, you know, some sex pest. You know, you saw them as just a content creator that you liked.
Well, and that's one of the big things with it is people putting content creators on a pedestal.
Yeah, that's the whole point of the thing from last April with the Pokemon community and a bunch of people going down. As it's like, these are just fucking people, man.
Yeah.
Like,
they're just talking into a microphone the same as we're doing right now. It doesn't make them any better, or it doesn't make them special. They just, I don't know.
And I think
ahead.
The problem, like, the aftermath problem we're facing is people forget that lesson and they just put other creators on a pedestal.
Yeah.
They're like, this creator will never be a predator or a rapist. Like, this creator will be safe. And it's like, no, you don't know. That's the thing.
You can't know that.
Well, it's like, I try to be very transparent with my audience about what my, like, personality is. I try to be myself on camera as I am off camera. Obviously, I have less energy off camera a lot of the time because it's just like, I'm chilling, I'm vibing. But as far as personality's sake, I try to be transparent. But you guys will never know that unless you have a personal relationship with me. Like,
and as much as you want to think that you do, you're not going to have a personal relationship with these content creators.
Exactly. And so it's like, you only see what they're portraying to you.
Yeah. I mean, you send them money, you show them support, you pay their bills, and I'm sure they appreciate you for that, but that doesn't make you friends.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's like watching a movie or TV. Like, it is just a form of entertainment, and I don't think people should look at it more than that. And I understand that's a big part of what YouTube has grown off of, is like interpersonal connections between creators and viewers. And I think it's okay to have that. Like, we can have a discussion and a back and forth on what you guys want to see and what will make you happy. But don't look at these creators like you have to model your life after these people.
Yeah, like it's one thing to be like a very, you know, strong fan for somebody, or to really like their work, or, you know, think that they might be a good person, or a good, you know, a good human being even off the camera. But there is a separation between that and this sort of like obsessive nature and like putting people on pedestals. Like, sometimes you just have to kill your heroes. Sometimes you have to realize that not everyone is sitting on a throne whenever they're off the camera. Sometimes, you know, the people that you like might be a shitty person IRL. So it comes down to, you know, just making sure that you don't obsess over these people. Don't let your heart get broken.
People forget that it's like, the entertainment industry is 2 parts luck, 1 part cutthroat. So it's like, you either achieve fame by getting very lucky, or you achieve it by cutting down anybody that's in your way.
Absolutely.
And so it's like, generally speaking, when you get someone who is successful in entertainment, they're either going to be like, I got extremely lucky, or they're going to be extremely cocky in their abilities. And I think, you know, when we see these people who get extremely cocky, I feel like they almost feel like they're on a pedestal.
It's a power trip. Like, getting a large following allows you to accumulate a large ego. So
like, I feel like the money is one thing, but it's like the power that they possess is what really drives people crazy.
It's like, you could be a YouTuber that makes, or, you know, Twitch streamer or whatever, some sort of an influencer, and you could be making a ton of money off of merch. But if you're like one of the people that is like really cherry picked and pushed up, like if you're one of the people that's like a really big creator, like a Philip DeFranco or something, and you have like a direct line to Susan Wojcicki, like, that is another level of ego expansion, where it's not just about what you're bringing in, it is how much you are propped up by others.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like, to some degree, you can only be so rich. Yeah. Like, at some point, you have enough money to buy everything you've ever wanted. But power is a completely different kind of high.
That is
when you can control someone just because of who you are, I can only imagine an unbelievable amount of power. Like, but I think I said it on Twitter, and I just want to say it again. Power is the most, like, showing thing in the world. If you give someone a bunch of power, their true colors will come out very quickly.
Because absolute power corrupts absolutely.
I don't think power corrupts people. I don't think that's true. I think you are innately a good or bad person, and what you do with that power, that power didn't make you make that decision. Your previous life made you make that decision. What you've learned up until that point, how you've acted up until that point. Because you're not going to, like, give someone who's done nothing but charitable work and all that a bunch of power, and they're just going to start fucking kids. It's the people that are, like, cut their way up to the top and were bad people to get their power, and now that they have it, they can use it.
I get your point,
but I don't think power inherently makes someone bad.
I don't want to say inherently, but I'm going to say that most of the time it does. Just simply because whenever you're in a state where you're, like, down now, you know, where you're maybe not making the most money, or you're behind on your bills or something like that, you are able to feel more empathy for people that are in a similar situation to you. Whenever you are able to place yourself on a higher pedestal than other people, given, you know, whatever your clout, your money, whatever it is, you immediately start to abandon some of that empathy and caring about those that you see as below you now. As soon as you go up a tier, those below you now end up falling through.
That's going to come back on your belief systems, right? Because it's like,
a lot of people don't have those.
Well, I would disagree. I just think some people have bad belief systems. I think a lot of people view and believe that money and status does equal how you are as a person. But I think those people were going to think that regardless if they made money or not. They were always going to hold that standard. I think that kind of applies more to people that were born into money rather than people that obtained money. Because a lot of these YouTubers are just lived very, very normal, blasé lives, and now they're millionaires. And I don't think that it's the money that made them a bad person. I think it was their outlook before they made the money that made them a bad person. And now that they have the money and the power, they can use it to be a bad person. Because, I mean, as many YouTubers that fuck up and do bad shit, I'd say there's just as many that are doing good shit and not doing anything wrong. Like,
yeah, absolutely. And there are tons of just genuinely good people who happen to also be content creators.
It's like when someone does something good, no one really gives a fuck. But when someone does something bad, obviously it's a very big deal.
Yeah.
That's accurate.
Not to say that doing something bad shouldn't be a big deal.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think people, it's not that people overvalue the bad things, it's that people undervalue the good things.
Negativity is more marketable because inherently enraging an audience is an illicit emotional reaction you can put within somebody. So to be able to talk about something that enrages people, like, trying to say that, someone is a sex criminal or, any allegation you can pin on someone, that would actively enrage people because they're like, oh my God, that's disgusting. That is more marketable than, oh yeah, this YouTuber just donated $100,000 to, kids with cancer. Like, it is more marketable to get people angry and get those hate clicks than it is to get
it's the same reason
that are genuinely happy for what was done.
It's the same reason Keemstar has spelling mistakes in all of his videos. It's because it generates so many comments of people just correcting your spelling that it's like, you fucking idiots, it's on purpose, you just got baited into interaction.
Yeah. It's just hate is very marketable. If you can make people hate someone or something,
people are more likely to interact with things that they don't like rather than things that they do like.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Because if you do like something, you might give it a like, but more than less likely you're just going to look at it and be like, oh, cool, and then scroll by it. Where if you see a thread of someone fucking getting taken down, you're probably likely to read the whole thing.
And also, it's just making commentary on something that is bad is a lot easier than making commentary on something that is good.
And I think that's why commentary channels are at this weird place right now, because I'm obviously going to include myself in this. It's unhealthy to make videos strictly about when people do things wrong, because then you're almost praying for people's downfall so you can get content. And that's why I think we don't see the classic commentator anymore. Everybody's kind of spread out to multiple forms of content, and they might still cover it when it happens, but it's just like, it's such an unhealthy obsession with things going wrong that your mindset's never going to be in a good spot. And I think that's because obviously right now would be the peak for commentary YouTubers to just fucking go in, but I think you see a lot of them refraining from it because it's like,
well, it's such a sensitive topic, right? Like,
yeah,
you say one thing wrong. Like, you say one thing wrong, or you say it in the wrong way, or it's misinterpreted, and all of a sudden you're canceled too.
Also,
because they think that you're a sympathizer.
I don't know how much you guys will know about this, but the Lazo thing that happened a couple months back, there's a UK YouTuber that goes by Lazo who was accused of sexual assault by by one girl, but multiple YouTubers backed this girl up, and there was this whole thing that came out. Well, it came out that they actually had a Discord where they planned this whole takedown out, and he was able to come back with a lot of information that disproved a lot of these claims, thankfully, and was able to, keep his career intact and whatnot. But one of the larger commentators that was involved in this was I'm Alex. And obviously, Keemstar, hating I'm Alex, took advantage of this. And, it's a common joke now in the commentary community that I'm Alex will try to backstab you and call you a rapist. if you're his friend, because Lazo and I'm Alex were pretty close friends. And so I think after that, people kind of had this realization that it's like, wow, we're actually like ruining people's lives with these fake allegations that we know nothing about. Maybe talking about this stuff's bad. Maybe trying to play a vigilante on the internet isn't a good idea.
That is a good point, that the whole Slazo thing probably did change a lot of commentary creators' tune when it comes to talking about like serious topics like that, simply because you make a video, you put a lot of time into it, everything in it gets proven false, then
you look like a fucking idiot.
So it's just that whole Slazo thing. I followed it like very loosely when it happened, just because I had I had seen the memes about I'm Alex being a backstabber and shit like that. So I had to pry into it a little bit more just because of that aspect of it. And I'm glad that false accusations like that are now kind of being like frowned upon a little bit more now because of like the Lazo situation, because making a false accusation against somebody like that, which for something very severe, that
his career almost got ruined.
And if charges were pressed, and he could have lost the trial, given the social awareness of it, how it was all over social media.
And if it's just like he was lucky he still had access to the messages and stuff he did. Because if he didn't have access to that, say if he would have gotten rid of an old phone, switched providers or something like that, and didn't have access to those messages anymore, he probably would have gotten full on canceled. It's just he happened to have the right evidence to prove what she was saying was wrong, prove that she was deleting messages in her screenshots, and all that.
And also...
And I think... I was going to say, I think that became the... It's good and bad, because I feel like that became almost like the bare minimum for defending yourself now. You have to have proof now.
Yeah. It is no longer innocent until proven guilty. It is guilty until proven innocent.
Well, but and that's the thing though. At a certain point, so things like innocent until proven guilty, right? The internet's not a court of law. The internet's not a court of law. And here's the deal: you can't just dismiss people who say or who make these claims. You can't just outright dismiss that.
Oh, of course.
Where's the proof? Well, it was on Snapchat. It got deleted. Oh, well, then it didn't happen.
Yeah, no, 100%. I don't believe in the whole innocent until proven guilty thing.
I'm not saying that's
dumb.
I'm not saying that's absolutely
a dumb rule. Because it's like, okay, you were in the house alone with somebody and they were murdered. I don't have any direct proof that you did it, so I guess you get to walk around while we figure this out. That's a dumb methodology.
I'm not saying that it's something that is absolutely, 100% of the time should be followed. I'm just saying that sometimes people jump the gun a bit, on the whole Slazo thing, people that were immediately shit-talking,
I was
all of this, and then all of it came out, and he was able to save it. I'm not saying that people shouldn't talk about situations like that. I just think that false accusations are harmful to people because there are legitimate victims of sexual assault, and by having people that get falsely accused, and having people that make false accusations
it
up,
devalues
people that were actually hurt.
Absolutely, but you can't.
I'd say it's better to believe the victim until evidence is proven, because you can always go back and resubscribe to somebody. You can't make somebody be unraped.
I agree. Exactly. Just because there have been false allegations in the past, and just because people have done things vindictively,
and let's be honest here,
does not mean that we shouldn't believe somebody who comes forward.
Let's be honest here.
Not believe them.
Statistically, there's more real claims than there are fake claims.
Yep.
I'd say without a doubt in my mind, more of these claims are real than are fake by a large margin.
Of course.
Because it's I've known dudes that are just fucking shitty. I've done some shit I'm not proud of, nothing that will ever end me on a list like that, but I know some dudes that full on are shitty people that have done horrible things. And
I think that low punny plushie on your bedside table would say different.
I don't have any Pokemon plushies. I'm not sure. I don't fuck kids. But yeah.
Okay, well that was a very heavy
Yeah, I was like
20 something minutes.
That's the first half of the podcast, guys.
Yeah.
I wanted to get it out there. I wanted to talk about it. I feel like it's important. Obviously, it's not something I want to ignore. We're a part of this. We're a part of the scene and the community. I want to, get our opinions out there. No one can ever say we didn't talk about it.
Okay, so kind of moving forward here. I know obviously we have our list of topics and whatnot, but I think I kind of want to deviate from that a little bit.
Yeah, go for it, my guy.
I'm going to send you guys a link because I just now stumbled across this. So this is about Cyberpunk 2077, specifically about the character customization, right? Okay. So this game is going to have an extremely detailed level of character customization. And when I say extreme, I mean extreme.
Oh my god, I'm seeing the list of things here now.
I'm gonna read off the list of every option that you can change on your characters.
Where do you guys see this?
There's a lot here, okay?
It's about halfway down the page.
So there are 6 skin types, 35 hairstyles, 17 eyes, 8 eyebrows, why do they say the eyes twice? 17 mouths, 17 jaws,
each eye color.
17 ears, 8 bits of cyberware, which is, I'm assuming, is just bio enhancements, 9 types of scars, 6 types of tattoos, 11 piercings, 5 types of teeth, 8 bits of eye makeup, 5 bits of lips makeup, 3 blemishes, and then here's where it starts to get interesting.
Oh my god.
3 types of nipples. Oh my god. 5 types of body tattoos, 2 types of body scars, 2 dick types, 1 vagina option, dick size options, and 5 types of pubic hair.
I'm going to immediately say that Cyberpunk is going to be canceled as sexist because there's more dick types than there is vagina types.
Well, hang on. When you, I have a theory on this.
What do you mean there's one vagina option?
That's
not an option.
I have a theory on this. My theory is that the 2 dick types are team skin versus team no skin.
Yeah. That's what I was going to guess, but they're going to be like, oh, come on. You couldn't give us a different looking vagina?
It's going to be turtleneck versus v-neck.
You're right. You're 100% right. So, up until we got to, like, the dick types, I'm gonna say that's pretty, like, not out of the ordinary as far as customization goes.
No, and like it's a good amount, right? It's pretty detailed. There's a lot of different options. That's great. And then, like, what part of the game is going to be so, like, focused on the genitals of your character that you need to be able to customize it?
Cyber prostitute sex scenes.
Sex scenes, yeah.
Now, it is important to note here that you do have the option of disabling nudity in the game, and the game will honor that, which I feel is important. Because, like, just like every other RPG, like, you can just do, like, random character generators, and it's never going to change that. So, like, you can set no nudity, and if you hit random, it's not going to randomly a dick pops up on your screen.
A dick. Yeah, you're not going to get banned.
But I just find it's interesting, and like 5 types of pubic hairs.
That's weird.
Are we talking like there's bush trimmed, landing strip,
a heart shape, and blank,
and then you got the full Brazilian?
No, I want something real crazy. I want like a Z. The Cyberpunk logo.
All I know is I'm gonna have my dick super thin and super long.
Nah.
All right.
Super thin and super long, like a fucking extendo toothpick.
I'm gonna go really short, but the fattest and whitest possible. I want it to look like a fucking cheese wheel. I want it to be fucking absurd. I'm really hyped for this game.
Your name is Chode.
Chode. Oh my god. But I'm gonna be honest. This character creator looks great, especially compared to a lot of American games. Because, like, just from what I've noticed, this may be my weeaboo popping out. The character creators in a lot of anime games have been a lot better than the character creators in a lot of, like, Western games for the past couple of years. Destiny 2's character creator is absolute dog shit.
Yeah, but what about games like Skyrim?
Skyrim's still shit. You gotta get mods for Skyrims to even be good.
I would disagree. I think Skyrim has pretty equal
I think the Elder Scrolls as a whole, from Oblivion and Skyrim, it's some of the most detailed custom characterization.
If you cut off the dick types, I think Elder Scrolls has more customization than this.
Well, I mean, and it maybe not necessarily in the number of hairstyles or the number of eye colors, but in the fact that you can literally
position things.
You can change the position, the shape, and like, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You can't do that in most games. And as far as Japanese games or so JRPGs or whatever having more customization options, that's because each one of those games use the same options. Like, you'll have the same 300 hairstyles from game to game, and half of them are based on anime characters.
I mean, that's
fair.
That's fair, but it still seems like more options. I don't know.
Is it really more options if you're just building a character that already exists, though?
Like, on the plus sign, your Phantasy Star Online character can be the same as your Gaia Online character. So there's that.
Okay, but Gaia Online does not have an option in the character creator where you get to change your fucking titty. Like, you can change the shape of your titties.
I feel like that's pretty commonplace these days, though.
I mean, there's always like a bust slider.
There's always like a bust slider, but it's literally like a thing where there's
I feel
different
like
points.
Like, you can change body shape and get
you
different
can change
shapes
the
of breasts.
chest depth and that sort of thing like that.
Like, I feel like that's pretty commonplace in customizable games to this point.
Oh, and I feel like this is also important to note about Cyberpunk 2077. You can view these genitals in all of their ray-traced and diffused glory.
Yes.
So if you've ever wondered what a ray-traced donger looks like,
I mean,
this is the game for you.
Essentially, it should look like a real penis, right?
So do you guys think that Keanu Reeves went full frontal?
Oh, yo, there better be a Keanu Reeves sex scene in this.
I don't think he actually went full frontal. I think they just coded him.
You don't think they mocapped his schlong?
Nah. Here's the reason I don't think that they did that or will ever do that again is because of David Cage. Do you guys remember Beyond Two Souls?
How do you think they would mocap a schlong? Is it like, do they put little green dots all over, or is it like a sock that you slide into?
No, it's a full body suit.
I mean, like,
that's like not even. That's like
if they actually had Keanu.
Yeah, that's like not even a joke. Like that's a thing.
If they actually had Keanu Reeves mocap the sex scene, which I would doubt that they would do, I would imagine that they would just have him like do some thrusting animations in front of a motion capture camera.
They did that, but they didn't actually Yeah, I was like, they didn't actually mocap his dick.
Which we don't even know if there's going to be a Keanu Reeves sex scene in this. I'm just saying that there better be one.
I would mocap my dick and then digitally enhance it, because nobody would be able to tell. Nobody would know.
Well, yeah, but at that point, why even mocap your dick? Why not just make one from scratch?
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I would just tell everybody I did.
But why not at that point? Like, it's not that much harder. If you're still gonna add to it, you basically have to create the whole new model anyways. Like,
no. I think we're on two different pages here. I'm saying it doesn't matter if you actually did it or not. I would tell people I did.
Oh, you're saying you would make it fake and then tell people it was real.
Well, in my case, I wouldn't have to make it fake, because I've got that cheese wheel thing going on.
Okay. I have a Swiss cheese wheel. I have holes.
Oh, Christ.
I am using the transform tool like crazy, but...
I forgot to lock in my ratios when I scaled.
Yeah, no, I accidentally hit skew, and now it looks all kinds of
left curve gang.
Up curve gang. Silly straw gang.
Mine's got a weird twist to it.
Mine's got a loop-de-loop. Woo!
Mine looks like somebody learned how to tie their shoes.
Like yesterday.
I'm actually very excited for Cyberpunk 2077. It's one of the few games coming up that I actually have any hype for. And I don't know, just like thinking about this game has kind of like... It's brought me back to an earlier area in my life. Maybe feel a little bit nostalgic to like when I was younger and I was excited for new games. Like whenever you know what I mean? Like whenever I was a little kid and I would hear about a new game coming out and I would see it advertised, and it kind of got me a little bit excited. I've sort of gotten that same sort of rekindled joy back within me thanks to Cyberpunk, because it's been something I've actually been excited for a couple of years now.
You know what's kind of ruined that feeling for me?
What?
Leaks.
I mean, that's very fair.
We just know so much about a game before it comes out these days. And it's not even like by choice. Like if I just scroll through Twitter, things get spoiled for me.
Yeah, I mean...
And that sucks, because it's like, Do you know how long it's been since I've like legitimately played a blind playthrough? Like a game I have no fucking clue about.
Oh
It
my
just
God.
looks cool.
Bro, the replies to this tweet. Because Fandom tweeted this out about the character customization,
Yeah.
and I'm reading these tweets, and they are phenomenal.
So, do
Like,
you want to give
just-
us a few examples?
So the first one is players while adjusting penis sizes, and it's just a gif of Thanos. Now reality can be whatever I want. And then the second one, this one's a thread, and I'm going to read this thread. It's from a female user. It says only one vagina option is misogynistic. We knew that was coming.
Oh.
We called that one earlier. And then it says, the next person, honestly, the two penises are likely uncircumcised and circumcised. Nothing to raise your fist at unless I'm wrong. The next one, another female, you're probably spot on. Plus, how many different types of vaginas are there? I thought female people all had the same kind. And I mean, yeah, they may look different, but all the same. Okay.
That's
And then this
Yeah.
this is my favorite. This is my absolute favorite. Okay, so this guy is his username is defund your local police.
Mm-hmm.
And his profile picture is an orange with a face. Anyways, it
Annoying
says,
orange.
if they can do salami size, they can do the length of the curtains.
Fair enough point, I
Comedy.
suppose. Fair enough point, I suppose.
And then another
guess.
that doesn't sound like nearly enough nipple options.
Is that for number of nipples? Cause
yo.
I got a friend with a third nipple who might feel a little excluded here.
Okay, but real talk. If you're a cyborg, why would you have nipples?
Because
For
cyborgs
pleasure.
are humans with robotic enhancements, so you would have to just have your nipples removed.
I don't know. I feel like just seeing a robot with nipples would make me.
Well, a
uncomfortable.
cyborg isn't a robot.
Yeah,
a cyborg is mostly a human.
I feel like there's going to be some very like heavily enhanced people in this game where like 90% of their body is robot.
Then that would make them a robot. They probably won't have nipples.
And then of course there's this guy. Does this mean I won't have to mod the ever loving hell out of this game to make it lewd?
Guess not. Freaking the world of Skyrim sex mods is so crazy.
I've never looked into it because I'm not weird.
Neither have I.
Like, okay, I just do a lot of Skyrim modding in general. So, you're just scrolling through Nexus mods, you see some strange things. And, like, there's, like, a whole other website for like, sex mods for games. And, like, there's multiple different, like, sex animation frameworks. And it's just like, God, can you guys just, like, watch porn? Or just, like, play
That's my
Skyrim
thing.
normally? Like, it's like...
Well, that's my thing. It's like I don't understand why people code in like sex mods for games.
Well, it's a challenge mode. Have you ever tried to play Skyrim one-handed?
That's fair.
It's like the RPG equivalent of a Nuzlocke. Except at the end of
A
this
nutlock.
Nuzlocke,
You come.
millions of potential lives die.
Millions. Or if you're me, like 17.
Yeah. This one says, can't wait for my mom to walk in on me creating my character.
Oh god, that's gonna be awkward. Can you imagine how many like teenagers there are that are like asking their parents to get them this game for like Christmas, and they're gonna be hooking it. They're gonna be putting it in their PS4, fucking Christmas Day TV in the living room.
But if people still have PS4s on Christmas Day, fucking poor.
That's gonna be me, bro. You call? I guess I'm poor.
Yeah, I'm being called out. I'm not getting a PS5 until they announce another fucking Infamous game.
Nah, bro. I'm gonna set up a brand deal with Sony. We all eating.
I made a tweet the other day that said I would suck cock for another Infamous game, and I bookmarked it because I'm waiting to see if they announce another one, so that way I can quote it and say you're welcome.
There will be another Infamous game at some point. I'd say that. I'm pretty confident in that. Pretty confident in that.
I didn't
Sorry
think we'd
to
missed
derail
third
the whole
son.
thing. I thought that was hilarious.
I agree.
Hey, I mean, this is the next big step in gaming.
Salami and curtain option. I stand with that.
Well, This is a very important advancement.
But does
the gaming community.
But does the game let you be fat?
I assume so.
If you can't play
Yeah,
as
but it's like muscle fat. You know, like the guy who worked out every.
It's
single
like when
day
you try
for-
to be fat in the Witcher.
Yeah,
Like, you're still fucking buff as shit.
you just have like a beer belly.
Yeah. You could still bench 600 pounds, but
You end up looking like Uncle Iroh after he gets out of prison.
yeah, literally. Literally. Bro, it's crazy to me that a bunch of people are watching Avatar: The Last Airbender for the first time right now.
You know what? Yeah, it's like number 1 on Netflix, isn't it? At least it was for like a couple of weeks after it first came out. It was like number 1 streaming in the US.
I just finished rewatching it.
It's a really, really good show.
It's really solid. I mean, there are a few episodes that I'm going to be honest with you, I skip.
Oh yeah, of course. There's some boring episodes in the series.
Overall,
I mean, it's like the Western equivalent of filler.
Yeah.
I'd still say that the show is like kind of a masterpiece.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a great show. The combat's amazing. The premise is dope. Like,
But
and-
fuck Legend of Korra.
Dude,
okay.
I had such high hopes for Legend of Korra. I really did, and I couldn't get into it. But so we've had conversations in the past about animes with or without character development. Let's talk about Zuko.
Some of the best character development in all time, bro.
Prince Zuko is the epitome of character development.
He is the bad to good trope done like the best. Like, you know, there's plenty of examples of characters where they start as like a villain and then slowly like redeem themselves. Sort of like, you know, you got like Vegeta and
Also,
Piccolo from Dragon Ball.
Can we talk about how he did a better fucking Slade than Slade with the fucking blue spirit?
Yup. Absolutely. And I think that the best thing about it was that it wasn't rushed. Usually in shows when you see a character go from bad to good,
It's
or
like in an
vice
instant.
versa, it's like in the span of an episode or two.
There's
It
like
took him
one event that
3
happens.
seasons. It took him 3 seasons to get to the point where he was like, "Oh shit, I'm supposed
I'm
to
the
teach the
bad
Avatar."
guy.
You know,
Firebending.
we're like the Fire Nation is wrong.
Yeah.
And that, in my opinion, that makes it so much more real because nobody makes realizations like that overnight.
Yeah, and it's like, because I think they really captured his, like, fear of his father really well. Like, because it's like, he was, like, I don't want to say tortured, but I guess tortured into his belief system. And then when he finally goes out and experiences the world and sees, like, what things are like outside of the Fire Nation, then he has the realization that he's been wrong.
I found it really, really interesting that they used his sister as like one of the catalysts for his change.
No.
I don't know. Overall, I feel like he was a very well written and well developed character.
Oh,
I'd say
absolutely.
he's probably the best done character from the show.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, I'm going to go further. I'm going to say the best done character in the franchise.
Oh, well, I mean, there's absolutely nobody in Korra that could have surpassed Zuko. Like,
I don't know, dude. Like they struck like a really big note when they went down the whole Korra is bi thing.
Yeah.
That was a really big deal.
Yeah, I was like, just because it didn't appeal to you doesn't mean it didn't appeal to other people.
Okay, but I'm a bisexual person, and I still don't care. I just want a good story.
Yeah, that's fine. But
Just because
that doesn't-
Korra and I have something within our lifestyles that makes us more similar does not make her any more interesting to me. There's
yeah,
plenty
to
of
you, but to somebody it might.
Yeah, that's the thing is it may not be to you, it may not be to me, it may not be to any of us listening, but it made a huge impact on the community because it was representation.
I'm glad people appreciated that. I'm glad people like that. But I wish that Korra had like the real fire behind its jets, like Avatar: The Last Airbender had, because it doesn't capture that same sort of magic. Like the animation's fine, like you know things like that. Like you know it is not a visually unappealing show. It's not like they changed like a shittier art style. It's just
I guess
the
my
writing
thing
is
about
not as powerful.
My thing about that is it's like if they were just going to write Avatar 2, they could have just continued the series. I feel like the whole point was to take it in another direction, and that it's more political fuel than like war.
I kind of agree with both of you on this point. I definitely agree with when they made the new series and they decided to focus on the next generation of the Avatar, it was a smart move to take it in a different direction. I get that. But my big thing with it, and the reason I had a hard time getting into it, was so with the original Avatar The Last Airbender series, like, there was this huge overarching event that was coming, right? And so it was like, he needs to master these elements and he needs to defeat the Fire Lord, otherwise it's all over.
Yes.
Right? And then at the end of season 1 or at the end of book 1 or beginning of book 2, somewhere in there, they found out about Sozin's comet and they're like, oh shit, it's getting real.
Yeah.
And that kind of accelerated. But there was this huge sense of impending danger or impending end that you just don't get in Korra.
100% agree.
There's just not enough of a large driving force behind the story. It's literally she has to learn airbending because it's the last element for her. Not I have to learn this in order to prevent the goddamn end of the world.
I mean, in a sense, she has to learn it so she can defend bending as an art as itself.
But that's not how it started. That was thrown in later with the whole Amon thing or whatever it was.
Well, yeah, that's what ended up being the.
It's like they had a premise before they had a motivation for it.
Yeah, I mean, but I guess you could say that about most avatars in the lore that we didn't see, right? Like, they didn't learn all 4 elements because they had to save the world. They learned all 4 elements because they could.
But they don't have their own show.
Yeah.
100%. But that's why I think that this is if they were just going to do more of what Avatar The Last Airbender was, they could have just done that. But the fact that they decided to take it in a different route that was more political than it was just straight up action was, I think it was a choice. It wasn't like a
sure,
a flaw.
No, I support that 100%. It was definitely a choice. It was just that's the choice they made that drew me away as a viewer.
Yeah, I don't know. See, for me, it's kind of the same situation as Boruto. I didn't want another Naruto series. There was no reason for that. I like learning. I liked the beginning of Boruto where we were learning more about how the ninja world evolved thanks to Naruto and Sasuke being so fucking strong, and how that created a gap, and now ninjas don't have to be strong. But then it leads up to this huge event that it's okay, well, we thought that what was done was good, but it wasn't, because then the next time we had a situation, the people who saved us last time couldn't save us this time. But if we kept training, the idea is that every generation's stronger than the last. So I don't know. I kind of like the different approach, because it's if I can just rewatch Avatar to get that feeling, but to experience a different story with a different stakes on the line. Because also Korra is supposed to be a little bit more modern.
Yeah.
Obviously. So it's it's supposed to convey a more modern issue than Avatar, because Avatar came out and it wasn't trying to prove anything, you know what I'm saying? It was just trying to be a good show. Whereas The Legend of Korra has something to live up to, it has something to prove, and it has to be different.
I just want to put this out there. I like the idea of the new generation trope as a trope in writing, as in passing the torch to a next line of characters. But the problem is that usually only happens in franchises where they end up passing it to people both in the show and also outside of it, and it is now new writers that are coming in, and they can't recapture the same magic as previous people that were working on it. I'm not saying that Korra going in a completely different direction, writing-wise, than Avatar is a bad thing, 100%, as an idea. Avatar can be changed and still just be in that same universe and still be an Avatar universe story. It could still be interesting, and it could still be fascinating for the viewer. But my problem comes in that whenever they don't put as much effort and time into it as it seems like, the originals did. So you end up passing the torch to a next generation that newcomers to the series, may kind of like, but they may never experience what came before now, because that's what they're used to. And people that were into it before will try to watch the new thing, and they're like, it's just not the same that it used to be. It's the same with Boruto, it's the same with the new Star Wars movies. People, I don't think as a concept people hate the idea of a next generation passing the torch. It's just an execution. It's all just been kind of bad recently.
But I have a question. Is the idea of the next generation to appease the old audience, or is it to bring in new audience?
I mean, ideally you would want to do both. You'd want to have a balance. It works best when you have previously existing characters.
You're still gonna watch Avatar, right?
I mean,
so they're still gonna get your views, right? Regardless if you watch Korra or not.
I mean, yeah, but now Avatar's not on TV, so it's just watching on Netflix.
Well, yeah, I mean, so is Korra. Korra doesn't air anymore.
Yeah, I know.
It's just
what I'm just trying to say is that ideally, in a scenario in which you're wanting to pass the torch to the next generation, you don't do it in an instant. You build it up slowly, so that way people can get attached to new characters while previously existing characters are still around.
But that's not fair to say, because they didn't have this idea while Avatar was airing.
I mean, I'm just saying that, like, they didn't even have to introduce Korra in Avatar. Korra could have just been a different sort of scenario. She could have been trained or been,
But this was literally like 100 years after Avatar took place. Her dad wasn't even born yet.
I'm just saying that it didn't need to be that.
No, I think it did, because we already know the power dynamic in Aang's time. We already know everything about that world. We had 4 seasons to learn everything about it and, like, understand it. So it's like, if they just did the next Avatar in line after Aang's gone, the world's still probably going to be mostly the same. Like, it's still the same universe. That's just a direct sequel to Avatar. I don't feel like that's really accomplishing anything other than just appeasing the old fans. I don't feel like that brings anybody new into the
Korra
franchise.
is the next Avatar after Aang.
Is she?
Yeah, there wasn't one between.
I thought
that's why, like, Katara was her waterbending master.
What's the
and her
time
airbending
difference?
master is
It's
Aang's son.
It's like 50 years, right?
Yeah, I don't know the
Something like
exact timeline, but I know that she was the next one after Aang passed.
I'm not even just meaning Korra specifically. I'm just saying writing in general. An ideal scenario would be one where you keep an existing character and use them to show the new world and see how maybe, the way that things have changed since their story has sort of changed them.
Would you really want to watch a 65-year-old Katara?
I think that would actually be kind of interesting. Like,
She's 65. The fuck she's gonna sit at home.
I mean, still, just because someone cannot fight does not mean that they don't have any sort of nuance or lessons to bring to the next generation.
Yeah, but that would be such a boring fucking show.
Well, I mean, the whole idea, like, in my opinion, it was basically it was a Western shonen.
Yeah.
Which you can't have that without fighting.
Yeah, it was like, I don't think, like, a show where Katara just explains how the new world works. Like, where's the climax in that?
I'm not meaning that Katara would be the main character. I'm saying that she would be there as sort of a guide to help the new generation and help give a sense of scope and change. A little bit, but I mean, it's not...
Well, how long do you want her to fully travel with Korra? Because then again, you have a 65-year-old woman going on these extremely dangerous adventures, which is just... That's ridiculous.
Okay, here's a different example that I say does it a little bit better. The existence of the adult characters in Boruto, which, while I can kind of shit on Boruto, and I think it's largely unnecessary to exist, I do like the fact that the adult characters, they didn't do such a big time skip that the adult characters are completely... like all dead. Like, the characters that still exist.
Yeah, but Boruto was being planned while Naruto was still on air.
Yeah, I know.
Also, I think that I've discovered the reason Boruto exists.
Money?
Yeah.
Merchandise?
Beyond that. I think I've discovered its target audience, because I don't believe that the target audience of Boruto is the people who watched Naruto.
It's Zoomers that never watched. Yeah, it's Zoomers that never watched Naruto.
And let me put this into context for you, because I absolutely adore Naruto. I love Naruto. It's, in my opinion, one of the best animes that's ever been made. One of the best mangas that were ever written. All right, it has its ups and downs, sure, but overall it's fantastic.
It's
I
definitely
can't
one of
stand
my
Boruto.
favorites.
However, my kids love Boruto. They
Yeah, I was like, and
love it.
that's another thing. Is it's like we have to remember when we got into Naruto, that was over 10 years ago. Like, at least for me, when I got into Naruto, it was over 10 years ago.
Yep.
I mean,
so
I watched part 1 when I was a kid, but I read the manga fully only a couple years ago.
yeah, I mean, I finished it years and years and years ago.
Yep.
And so, for me, obviously kids are going to be a lot different. They're not trying to get 20-year-olds into Boruto.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they're thinking, what age were people when they got hooked on Naruto? They were 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, they're going to make a show for that age range, so then that age range can grow up watching Boruto the same way our age range grew up watching Naruto. It's not supposed to appeal to us. It's supposed to appeal to kids.
Yeah,
get
and
that.
the downside to that is that I don't feel it's not going to age as well. It's not going to be timeless like Naruto because I mean,
Well, that's the thing.
It's
If you try,
basically Naruto
was
Junior.
well, Naruto wasn't made to be a timeless anime.
But it ended
no
up being
anime.
one.
Yeah, I was like, no anime is made to be timeless. It just ends up that way. So the fact that they tried to make Boruto like Naruto, and they're trying to make an anime that's like, this will go on forever. They could get canceled at any point. And that's the issue with how they set up their show, showing the climax in the first episode. Like,
What I want to say is that a difference of writing between, like, modern, like, you know, sort of shonen-ish material, or just things in general, is that back in the day, media was more willing to do the mentor trope. Like, when Goku was a kid, he had Master Roshi. Naruto learned the Rasengan from Jiraiya. You know, things like that. That was a trope that was more used back then, but it's not as common now. And it's just something.
I would disagree.
It's just something I've sort of noticed that they
I
don't. They
think
don't
that's a
full
fair
send.
statement.
They don't full send on it. Like, okay, look at Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. The movie starts with the implication that Miles got his powers and he wants to be trained by Spider-Man. That version of Spider-Man ends up being killed, so he ultimately doesn't get trained by that version of Spider-Man. And the other
that's
universe,
that's not a fair comparison. That's comic book versus anime.
okay, but I'm just trying to say is just like a piece of
Well,
media that is tangentially related and does a similar
but I'm
thing.
gonna say as a direct argument to that, Boruto has had several mentors throughout the series, even to the point where I'm at.
Right, but that's I feel like that's only because it's a sequel or a spinoff. If you look at like new
Well, what
standalone
about
IPs,
My
like,
Hero?
so yeah, don't get me wrong. There's definitely exceptions to the rule.
My Hero
and
is a good
Demon
example
Slayer.
of a good mentor
But
story.
if you look at most of like the big shonen right now, so like Demon Slayer, there's no
Demon
mentor
Slayer. Yes, there is.
in like the first 3 episodes.
No, Gyu.
Dude, once he
You-
goes out, okay. I'll give you this one. I'm going to give you that simply
Like,
because I have
I'm
only
not-
watched the first season.
I've only watched the first season too, but okay. So pause this if you don't want Demon Slayer spoilers. Okay. In the second, I'm gonna give you one more second. Pause.
If we could get a spoiler warning up on the screen, that'd be great.
Spoiler.
yeah.
Spoiler. In the second to last episode, when they're at the council, meeting the head of the Demon Slayers, Gyu literally says he will commit seppuku if fucking Tanjiro and Nezuko ever fuck up. He is literally putting his life on the line.
Yeah, but
for this guy.
there's no mentorship there though. It's
I
not
would
like
disagree.
it's not like they traveled with him. They didn't learn anything from him. He's just defending them. That's
But
not
I'd
a
say-
mentor.
I would disagree. I would say he's teaching him how to be a demon slayer. Because, I mean, he has to learn to fight on his own, but mentorship is not just physical combat. Mentorship
In a
is
shonen, it is.
No, it is not. No, it is not. Jiraiya didn't just teach Naruto how to fight. Jiraiya taught Naruto how to be a man and created the person that he is in Shippuden.
that is
a mentor
something
does
I
a
will,
lot
I will
more.
agree with. That, like,
And
the
I
mentor
would
does a
agree
lot
with that
more.
as well. But the point that I'm trying to make in using Demon Slayer as an example is that
And
we
you
don't-
also have to remember, Demon Slayer has what, 12 episodes?
yeah,
And
there's
if
like
you count
13 episodes or something like that.
4 of those have a mentor in him. That's a third of the series to date.
But what I'm trying to get at, Okay, what I'm trying to get at with using it as an example is that he may be a mentor in the future, because we haven't seen that yet, but in what we have available, all that we have seen as far as a mentor goes, in my opinion, is
Ugarachi.
Is his water.
But that I'm saying master. That's like the first 4 episodes, and that's a third of the series.
But it's a third of the series that we have so far, but it's none of the adventure.
Well, I mean, yeah, 100%. I guess it's none of the adventure, but I mean, Master Roshi doesn't really go on any adventures with Goku.
No,
not
but
anymore.
you have... So but Goku's already on his adventure when he begins this training. So partway through his adventure, when he starts training with Roshi and with Krillin, and then he spends God knows how many episodes on that island,
he was training
moving rocks and delivering milk. Like
he was training with fucking Gohan before that, though.
Yeah,
no.
but
I'm talking like back in Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
No, because I mean Gohan, his grandfather.
Right, but that's not part of the storyline. That's not something that we see in like that.
Demon Slayer also doesn't have 45 episode seasons.
I understand that. That's why I'm basing it just on what we've seen so far.
Well, that's what I'm saying is Demon Slayer doesn't waste 14 episodes going through a training montage.
You don't know that. We've gotten one season where they're establishing characters. Wait until we get to the point where Tanjiro that comes across an enemy that he can't defeat, and then he ends up taking his 14 episode training montage and then coming back and whooping his ass. It's gonna happen because it happens in every anime.
I would disagree. It's never happened in My Hero to date, and we're 4 seasons in. I think new anime follows a different structure. They're doing American season lengths. We're getting 10 to 13 episodes a season, and that's it. And that's the whole point. That's the
whole point that we were making, though, is that new anime.
No, you're saying there's no mentors.
No. That new anime doesn't follow the same tropes. The original point that Tanner made was that he brought up the example of the mentor trope.
But I think they still use that. They just don't waste a fuck ton of time on it anymore.
Well,
the tropes are still the same.
If you think it's a waste of time.
I'd say, generally speaking, you can montage any trading sequence, and you would accomplish the exact same thing.
It's not about the training, it's about the characters. Goku being with Master Roshi, in the same way that Naruto being with Jiraiya, did help them develop, both on the battlefield and off. They grew closer together, and they had that very close
But you don't see that on screen.
Relationship. Well, you do get some of that. They do interact together.
Okay, but you didn't see the 3 years that Jiraiya and Naruto grew close together and developed this bond that makes it so Naruto is actually sad when he dies. We see a very small fraction of their relationship, even including all of the time Jiraiya is in Shippuden.
I mean, I'm not saying that it needs to be like a 1,000,000 episode long show just getting it across their relationship.
Well,
you can be a little bit more subtle about it. I'm just saying that
if Naruto was able to exclude 3 years of relationship, like, I feel like we can wrap up training montages in a couple episodes.
I'm saying it's more than just about the training, and it's more about getting that relationship across. My Hero does a really good job at making you feel for Deku and All Might, because you feel like Deku really cares for All Might and vice versa. It feels like that mentor-mentee sort of passing the torch relationship.
And that's what I'm saying.
Even though there is
no
previous series about All Might,
actually,
it conveys well.
I would like to compare All Might and Deku's relationship to Demon Slayer, because I feel like you very, very, very rarely see All Might and Deku actually doing anything together after the first season.
But I feel like that's used as a device in the show, though, because when they introduced All Might as a teacher at UA, he explained, like, we're not going to be able to have the open relationship, friendship or whatever you want to call it, because I don't want anybody else to know that you got your powers from me.
But at this point, every teacher knows that he has favoritism for Deku, and we just keep learning that more and more people know about this secret that apparently nobody knew about.
And even without them being together all the time, you still get the sense that they care for each other, even if they're not in every frame together. You still get the feeling that they matter to each other.
That's what I'm saying. I get the same feeling with Demon Slayer.
And it's
not so much a physical thing as it's the emotions involved between the characters.
Right, but even looking beyond that, looking at the the physical training side of things, okay, we have the first 4 or 5 episodes of the first season is All Might training Deku to become strong enough to handle All For One, right?
Yeah, I think it's the first 3 episodes, and then the 4th episode is
the entrance exam.
Yeah.
Right. And then my theory here, and I'll explain why, and I'll try to support it, is that he's still training him, but it's not something that's being shown. And the reason I say that is because in the 4th season, we have these little secret training things that are happening in the forest.
I mean, we have...
So I feel like these are happening throughout the series, but they just haven't showcased it.
No, because they talk about that in the 4th season. It's not like they've been meeting and training in the woods for secret. It's Deku finally learns how to control certain percentages of One For All, and All Might's like, okay, now we can move on to the next part of your training. It's not like... It's Deku's experiences up until this point without All Might that has gotten him to this point, and then All Might's there to just kind of help him through the next step. Because it's like, it was his fight with Overhaul that pushed him to that level to where he can control percentages a little bit better and bust out a little bit more percentages, and his body can handle it. Right. It's these events that he's taking place without All Might, because All Might can't fight and All Might can't be there, that is really growing. And that's why we developed the Night Eye relationship with Deku. And
and that's the point that I was going to make is, and this is really interesting. I know it's going to seem like to you guys listening or watching that I'm kind of jumping back and forth on my stance on this, and that's kind of true. But I'm doing a poor job of articulating what I'm feeling or thinking. But with we see him with All Might in the beginning, and then he does his own thing in the entrance exam. All right, and then we have the first couple of the first semester at the school where he's just kind of doing it on his own, figuring it out. And then we see, like, instead of him going back to All Might for the training, now he's being trained by a new mentor in Gran Torino.
Yeah,
he's the one who taught him full cover,
full cowling.
Full cowl, yeah. So he learned full cowl through Gran Torino, and then after Gran Torino, we had the whole bit with God damn it, I'm bad with names. You just said his name.
Night Eye. Yeah,
with Night Eye, and then through Night Eye, he meets Jesus Christ. Yeah, and I feel like that relationship is where he's going to really develop as a hero.
Yes and no. I think it's going to be separate developments, because I think Deku, because Lelemillion, we don't know if he's getting his powers back. I don't read the manga. I don't know anything past what's been animated.
I'm so in love with the anime that I don't want to be spoiled.
Yeah, that's my thoughts on Demon Slayer as well as My Hero. Is I prefer to see it animated than to read it. But I think that's kind of capturing the small mentorships, because it's like he trains with Gran Torino for like an episode, and then you see Gran Torino a couple more times here and there, but generally speaking, they don't really communicate anymore. And Night Eye, obviously, spoiler warning, Night Eye's dead. So he's not going to get trained by Night Eye anymore. Right. I think it's those small mentorships that it's like we're getting heroes figuring it out on their own these days. And I feel like that's a better trope to have in anime, because you don't... The idea that you have to rely on someone else to teach you how to do good or how to succeed isn't necessarily a good trope to include. Having heroes figure it out on their own and go through these trials and tribulations to get better, and not just have someone hand them a secret to be great, I think is a better trope to include. And it's a more realistic representation of how, if you want to be good at something, it's very rare that you're going to find somebody who's just going to teach you how to be good at something.
Generally
speaking,
fair.
you're going to have to learn on your own.
And
so it's like, I think they have more realistic mentor tropes in modern anime. You're not going to have some 40-year-old dude who's going to dedicate the rest of his life to teaching you how to be good at something. That's just a very unrealistic expectation to have.
I just want to say that when it comes to taking like older characters that are, wise beyond that of our main character and having them in pieces of fiction, I find it more interesting to have them be involved in meaningful mentor roles, even in just like smaller ones like in My Hero. I find that more interesting than what it's turned to in like a lot of like Western material where it's been like the sad beard dad, like the new God of War game. Good game, but it's just if like that's kind of becoming the new standard for older characters that have maybe if they're not already established, but have a level of power beyond that of normal. It's just
I'd personally say Western media has always been shit at the mentor trope.
I would agree.
I can't think of I'm sure there are some, but I can't think of any instances off of the top of my head where I'm like, that was a good mentor in that American-made movie. I guess the one thing I can think of is the relationship between Iron Man and Spider-Man in the late Marvel
Karate
movies.
Kid.
Yeah. Karate Kid's also.
The old one, yeah. Mr. Miyagi was a great mentor. 100%, bro. I'll buckle on that.
Oddly enough, it was like Japanese inspired, which is funny.
Yeah. I was like, it is technically a Japanese inspired movie, but which is weird because like karate is not Japanese.
Yeah.
I think. Is it? I know Kung Fu's not.
No, I'm pretty sure karate's not Japanese. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm wrong.
It's an Okinawan martial art.
Oh,
I thought it was Taiwanese.
No. It was influenced by Kung Fu.
Yeah, I knew that.
So country
But
of origin is
Okinawa, is
the
Japan,
Ryukyu
yeah.
Kingdom.
Yeah, I was thinking Okinawa's.
I mean, hang on. Let's see here.
Well, because this was when Japan was much, much bigger.
Well, this was when. So let's see. The Ryukyu Kingdom was ruled as a tributary state of China, but they later unified it as the Okinawa prefecture.
Yeah, I was like, because I think most people don't remember that Japan used to own like a third of China.
Yep.
I just realized we're at an hour and 16 minutes.
Yeah, I know.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's okay.
There's no hard limits.
It's as long as we hit an hour, it's okay.
Yeah.
So anyways, kind of back to topic there. I personally kind of feel like My Hero Academia, I would say, is kind of an exception to a lot of newer anime themes. In the sense that it includes a lot of them, but it heavily throws back to a lot of older themes as well.
I would say that My Hero is also just sort of a subversion of a lot of modern anime. Because where a lot of modern anime is kind of an even split between like waifu shit and shonen, it's like it kind of goes to its shonen roots as well as embraces things from like American media that is good. Well, like it's overall a very westernized superhero theme alongside...
Well, the thing is about My Hero is I don't think you can genre lock it as a shonen. Because it goes into so much like slice of life romance stuff that it's like, it is technically a shonen just because it is an anime aimed at male audiences, which is technically all the shonen is. But
I mean, I don't get a ton of romance from it. I mean, he has a
they're definitely setting up.
There's a couple of crushes.
They're setting up romances. I could say that 100% for sure.
But it's not like Dragon Ball Super, where every episode somebody is like fucking fighting to the death, and there's always
no. I mean,
it's
definitely
not like that. There's
it's
a
very
slice of life moments.
It's a very happy medium because you have the concert episode which has literally zero action in it.
That's not true.
But is the gentle fight? No, that's the episode before, right?
It happens in the same episode.
Does it?
Yeah.
I thought the gentle fight They end the episode after Deku beats him. They start the next episode with
I don't think so. I think that
Mad Dog
it's the same episode.
picking him up.
Or maybe
you might
it's
be
just
right.
like a recap at the beginning of the episode. I'd have to go back and watch it again.
I think it's a recap because I think the concert episode, they spend the whole episode like taking Eri through the fair, showing her the different booths, and then they do the concert and then end on it with
That's true.
Lemillion and Deku saying goodbye to Eri.
I definitely think you're right because at the end of the episode with the gentle fight, like they have the whole bit, of him and
La Brava.
Yeah, him and La Brava, like when they're there in the forest after the defeat and whatnot. And yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I think at the very beginning of the episode is when Mad Dog takes them away, and then Deku goes to the school.
I'm gonna be real with you. The whole gentle La Brava thing made me a little uncomfortable.
It was weird. It was weird.
I just have a lot of appreciation.
Again, with the spoilers, I feel like we're gonna have to put like a timestamp from when we started talking about anime.
Yeah, I was like,
I'll throw up
if
some
you're
text
not-
that says spoiler warning and tell people.
if you're not caught up on Demon Slayer or My Hero, don't watch past this point.
Or if for some reason you haven't watched Dragon Ball Z or Naruto, in which case, what are you doing?
That's
with
not
your
our
life?
fault. Yeah, I was like, that's not our fault.
For the entirety of the sections where we're talking about like legitimate anime spoilers, I'm gonna throw up Texas's spoiler warning, and people can scrub through and look for that.
I like how this basically turned into the anime episode.
I just
we talked about sexual assault and then went to anime. Very natural progression.
Well,
Okay.
we went from sexual assault to genitalia in video games to Avatar: The
to
Last
anime.
Airbender to
Yeah.
anime.
because Avatar is an anime, and we had to talk about the first thing just because.
Okay,
it is
wait a
very-
second.
You opened a
Okay,
can
wait.
of worms
Wait. Let's go back one time. What did you just say?
Because Avatar is an anime.
It's not. It was made in America.
Yeah.
It's literally by definition not an anime.
Yeah, it's the dumbest debate ever, and I don't care about it. I'll say that just to make people mad. I don't give a fuck.
That's like it's
Anyway.
a hot dog a sandwich, but
Yeah.
for weebs.
I have a lot of appreciation for My Hero because it embraces the nuances of both a lot of shonen anime from Japan and embraces the better things out of a lot of like American comics. Its whole setting and feel, a lot of it is inspired by American comics in the sense that, everybody's like
It's also
superheroes.
inspired by American TV.
Yeah, it's less so about like the power systems, like that's like Ki and Dragon Ball, Chakra, Naruto, Nin, and Hunter x Hunter. It's more so about like individual characters having their own unique abilities, similar to that of American comics, where like Spider-Man does one thing, Blue Beetle has his own thing, Ant-Man does his own things, and they're all insect characters, and they still do different shit.
On that topic, what do you think about the power system that is quirks?
I think that it is very well done and interesting, and it encourages a lot of creative writing decisions, and ultimately you can do anything with it, because if you can say that anyone can be born with any power, and now with the inclusion of things in season 4 that is like about like genetic modification and shit like that, it can go a very interesting direction, and it is a lot more powerful and easy to write around with like Ki or Chakra, where there's inherent limits of like, okay, people have power levels, and then that got thrown out the window because it was too hard to keep up with, and then like Chakra, and then like
I think
they had to introduce different chakra types and shit like that to make things make sense.
I was like, I've seen a lot of people shit on the quirk power system because it's like the main argument I've seen is it's like they're just so like there's separation between quirks in such a way that it's like Deku has a quirk that he can train and make stronger, whereas someone like Sue, like she's pretty much reached the limit of what her quirk can do.
Physically, yes, but there's creative ways that she can use it.
I feel like that's only based on in the context of the show, because if you think
that's
about
what
it,
I was about to say. I do not agree with this. I think like Tanner said, the creative writing really comes through in this, and the writers in My Hero are really, really, really good. And we had that whole episode about the Orca team with Sue, where she really got the highlight. And I think they're really good at highlighting characters. And you think you know a character and what they can do, and then they'll just flip that on its head and be like, you didn't think they could do it this way, though. And I think that's really good.
In the same way that American comics avoid power creep by allowing characters to do things that is an innovation or a creative use of
I was
their own
like,
powers.
American comics are not a good level to describe power creep.
It's not great, but it's better than anime, because like with Naruto,
depending on the anime.
With Naruto,
I mean,
there's a set level
you have to
of power
remember. You have to remember, Thanos can literally control reality.
Well, yeah, but there's also other people that can do that and subvert his powers,
Well,
and Thanos also isn't always on screen. He's off doing his own
Well,
shit.
that's what I'm saying. That's what power creep is when you introduce a character with so much power that you then have to introduce characters with equal amount of powers to explain how he can exist. Is now you have characters that are all way too overpowered, and that's what power creep is.
But the Marvel Universe is so big that it's not coming into hand constantly. When it's something like Naruto, where it's like, okay, well, if you don't have a magic eye at this point in the series, you're fucking useless. Well,
that's the same way. That's the same way Marvel is, though, right? Like, if you can't warp reality when Thanos is around, you're useless.
But still, Spider-Man still tries to 1v1 Thanos. Iron Man,
And
still tries to fight him. And
but that's what I'm saying.
Like,
Fight. I mean, yeah, but they lose.
I mean, yeah.
And you know they're gonna lose. Like, there's no... And if they wouldn't lose, Thanos would just send back time. Like, I don't think American comics are a good example of good power creep.
I mean, I'm not saying that it's amazing.
So,
it's just like in Dragon Ball, right? It's always a constant sense of, okay, I need this next Super Saiyan.
Yeah,
form,
no,
or
Dragon
I'm
Ball is the
irrelevant.
worst power creep that
that's like
anime
the
has ever
definition
presented.
of power creep.
But by having characters that do different things and can innovate and do things in a different way, like Deku did in a lot of earlier My Hero, where he, didn't have full use of One for All, so he had to do something creative. Like when it was during the race section, like prior to like the fucking, I don't know, whatever, the tuning exams, whatever, where he fought Todoroki. prior to that, when it was the thing where he was running on the minefield and he got the scrap of metal. Yeah, the sports festival. When he grabbed the piece of metal and he slammed it on the ground to boost himself forward by, that thing absorbing the explosion. That was an innovative use of his creative intellect that allowed him to get ahead. Even though there's characters that are in the race that are absolutely way stronger than him, he's still able to come out on top out of like sheer intellect and skill alone, and it doesn't feel like forced. Like it doesn't feel like he's way too strong because he just has this massive power. It's not like he just got golden hair and started flying past everyone. It's like he did something
that's what
that was creative.
100%. I 100% agree. I think if you want to talk about a good example of power creep, My Hero is the example to mention.
Yeah. I'm just saying that like American comics will do shit where it's like a story arc where a character will, face a villain and like, they have to start thinking creatively. Like, this shit happens like Batman and Spider-Man stories.
But like you said, the Marvel Universe is so big and there's so many iterations that it's like...
When it comes to like a Thanos or Galactus story, then yeah, of course
they can just write stuff out, but you can't do that in anime. Like,
so a couple of points that I want to make on this topic before we get too far away from it. Like the idea that you had mentioned about having like different tiers of quirks, right? How like you
and that's a thing that's
Tyler
confirmed.
brought up Sue versus Deku, right?
Yes,
like just the level of their quirks. I feel like, me personally, the way I look at it is, yes, he has this ultra powerful quirk, but he's constantly working to improve it, right? I don't feel like he's working. He's not improving his quirk. He's not changing the nature of his quirk. He's learning and improving his control over it.
Okay, Deku's not necessarily the best example. Someone like Todoroki, who is naturally born gifted.
Sure. And I think that's another point that I'm going to get to here. I feel like we actually see that.
Or I guess Bakugo, because Todoroki was bred, whereas Bakugo is more naturally talented.
But I feel like that's a theme that we see as far as the quirks go, and that's like the whole point of UA outside of creating pro heroes is teaching them how to take their quirks and improve them as far as they can, and then learn how to use them in creative ways, in unique ways, right?
Yeah, no, 100%.
So that's all really important.
I just want to reiterate again, I believe My Hero has the best power creep, but I believe quirks may be the best power system in anime.
I agree.
I'm just simply bringing up the devil's advocate point.
No, I completely agree, and I think that a really interesting point to make here is that I feel like quirks, or the idea of quirks and their execution in this series, beyond being... a system for power, is also a metaphor for classism. So, the circumstances in which you're born, does that make you who you are, or can you take what you have and become better with it?
Well, I mean, that goes into the whole three protagonists thing in My Hero, to where it's like, Deku is the main protagonist, and we're getting the story through his eyes, but We have someone who is given power from an outside source, Deku. We have someone who is naturally talented, Bakugo, and we have someone who is bred to be talented in Todoroki. And I believe the story does a really good job at explaining that it's like there's not one surefire way to greatness.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different ways that you can achieve your dream and your goal, and it's not a one-way streak. You can't do things one way. There's so many different things to accomplish things. Yeah. And I really appreciate that in My Hero.
The amount of variety in its themes is very...
That's something that I really appreciate as well. And I think an interesting point to kind of touch on what we talked about a little bit earlier as well is kind of the similarity and yet the difference between that idea being used in My Hero and the way that it's used in Naruto. Because you have a similar theme, you know, Naruto,
between Sasuke,
it comes from
Naruto.
Nothing, and then Sasuke was just a natural born talent. And you see it a little bit with Neji as well, right? Yeah. So you have these natural born talents, but then you have this guy who comes from nothing, works his ass off, and becomes better than them. Or as good as them.
That's the thing, though, is Naruto kind of ruined that trope by having Naruto come from a bloodline that is insanely powerful.
Absolutely.
His dad being the fourth Hokage. Like, we're led to believe all in the first part that Naruto wasn't born gifted, but then all of Shippuden is pretty much being like, no, actually, he was born probably the specialist out of anybody.
Yeah, I mean, he's got these massive chakra reserves from his mom and then all of this natural talent from his dad. And that's the point that I was getting at, is that it tries to build this idea, this theme, and then it just shits on itself. Whereas My Hero, at least so far, hasn't done that. And it's done it so much better.
Yeah.
Because it's multifaceted.
And so much less time.
It's overall... really, really interesting. It's one of those details that make My Hero such a great anime.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
And I mean, what's great is because there's so many characters, right? Because there's a ton of characters. I mean,
yeah, you have a whole cast of
just
characters.
In Class 1A, you have, 20 students, right?
Something like that.
And you don't get to see really much about all of them. For instance, like...
But I'd say everyone gets their chance to shine.
Everybody's got at least like
sort of. I mean, I don't think
you
Ojiro had a moment. Not yet.
Wait, Ojiro's the tail guy?
Yeah.
He definitely did. It was during the wooded exam with the pussycats. I'd have to rewatch, but it's during that season, like before the Muscle Man fight.
And
I'm thinking of Muscle Man from regular show now.
I don't think we've seen too much about Sato, the Sugar Rush guy. We've seen him a couple of times, but the point that I'm getting at is that there's so many characters, and yet they're keeping this continuous theme of no matter where you're starting, you can become better.
Yeah.
You know? And I feel like that's really, really awesome. For instance, like Kirishima, right? So he starts with being able to harden his body, and then we first see the first part of his journey is during the sports festival, when he goes head to head with what the hell is his name?
With the 1B
Tetsu.
Yeah.
You know, the guy who turns into metal. And then later,
Steel,
during like the work studies portion of it, we see him go full badass mode.
Well, yeah, during the overhaul mission with him and the fat guy and
Fat Gum.
Yeah, and then the Punchy Man.
In the span of, what was it, 2 episodes, I think? We see, because that first episode is him and the guy in the alley that takes the drug, right?
Yeah,
so we have that, and then
the blade guy.
Yeah, and then during the actual mission,
he improves that technique.
Like within the span of 2 episodes, we see the introduction of this technique, and then the development that it took him through to get to that point, and then what is important enough to him and what he wants to prove, what he wants to become, makes it strong enough to take on these goddamn supervillains that his mentor
that are on quirk and enhancing drugs.
Yeah. And that is just amazing, and I can't wait until we see stuff like that from some of the other characters. Like, when they bring Tokuyami back in, that's going to be sick.
Yo, I'm really excited for that.
I want to see what
something I wanted to say just while we were on the topic. Tanner mentioned earlier about the whole like off-screen training. Mm-hmm. My Hero make sure you know that they are off-screen
Yep,
training.
yep.
They tell you exactly where everyone is going to be and what they are going to do and why they're going to be stronger the next time you see them.
Yep.
And I really appreciate that, because it's not like they show up and they're so much stronger and then they do a quick 3-minute explanation on how they got this way. They're just like, hey, I'm going to go train at this agency. They're really, really tough.
It does it without any ass pulls. Like in Dragon Ball Super, an example of an ass pull is Trunks being able to use the Spirit Bomb.
Yes.
Yes. If you read the manga, it's explained a little bit better. I think, if I'm remembering it correctly, I'm pretty sure they explain a little bit better that he trained with the Kais. But the anime really does not convey that to you.
Doesn't a Kai just literally yell at him to use the Spirit Bomb, and he does?
Something like that. It's not great, but with My Hero, it's characters will do something and it makes sense. It's not just okay, well, where the fuck did they learn to do that? That's really
also
strong.
In My Hero, they don't stop mid-fight to talk.
No, they don't.
Which is
you
appreciated.
You have little bits of flashback, in the slowdown moments.
But it's very, very...
So during the entire overhaul fight, right? The main one. I think that entire fight, which was the biggest fight that we've seen so far in the series, took place over, 2 episodes?
Yes. Every other fight has been a singular episode.
So this took place over the course of 2 episodes, I believe. I could be wrong. And within those 2 episodes, during the actual fighting, I think there were maybe 2 instances where Overhaul said something. Or Deku said something. And
they were all... They were all during times when Overhaul made it impossible for someone to reach him.
Yep.
He didn't just stand out in the open and start talking.
And he didn't stand there, go over his huge monologue about what's going on.
No.
We learn all of that through flashbacks. We learn his motivation through his thought process, not him.
Through the pre-fight.
Yeah.
They explain everything up until the fight, and then we just get to watch the fight.
Yeah.
And that's why I hate when people are like, My Hero fights are over so quickly. It's they don't spend half an episode explaining while they're fighting.
Yeah,
they just fucking fight.
If you think about it, if you get into a fight, an actual fist fight with somebody, that's over fast.
Yeah, it's over in minutes.
It's
generally speaking,
very quickly.
Yeah, I was even watch UFC fights. Generally speaking, they're less than 10 minutes.
You haven't
if
seen
you don't
any
count
of
the
fights
round
I get in.
breaks.
I'll put somebody in Tsukiyomi. They'll think they're getting stabbed for 72 hours.
But the point that I'm making with that is the fight sequences in My Hero. I do feel I'll say that they have cut the fights themselves have sort of followed a theme as far as sequencing goes, because you usually end up with a villain, we'll say, in a situation that's considered super strong, right? And then you have the good person, the protagonist, who we know is strong, but the villain is just oh, you're a bitch, right? And so he kind of plays around with them at first, and then he's like, oh shit, this dude's serious, and then they both just go full force at that point.
Well, what I will say I like about that is they don't just they don't have the person that the hero that won the fight just get up and walk away after. They push themselves to their fucking limit,
right.
And they usually pass out and need help
Absolutely.
to get to the hospital.
And I love the idea of having to go all out for every fight. I, however, disagree with that one tiny little aspect of every single fight is they don't get taken seriously at first, and then they get taken seriously. The only exception to that is any sort of fight involving a pro hero.
I would also say that the Sun Eater fight was an exception to that, because he started out winning, and then they started beating him, and then he found a way to turn their strength into a weakness.
I would agree with
and
that.
also push himself to the absolute limit.
I would agree with that. And then as I was speaking, I said, the only exception to that is a fight involving a pro hero. And I guess when you say it that way, it makes sense, because these are just students.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Obviously,
as a villain,
they're not going to be taken
as,
seriously.
Amateur heroes, so they're not going to take them seriously. So it makes sense in that if you look at it that way.
Also, in the Overhaul arc, as an instance specifically, the jobs for the villains were to slow down the heroes, not necessarily beat them.
Yep.
Because they understand that they're accompanied by pro heroes. You're probably not going to win, but slow them down and reduce their numbers as much as possible, so when they get to someone like Overhaul, who actually has a chance of winning against pro heroes, like
They're
their numbers
exhausted.
are dwindled. And
Yeah.
I mean, they did that essentially.
Absolutely they
Like,
did. Well, I mean, what it boiled down to was Lemillion and Deku versus Overhaul. Like, that's as dwindled down as you can get.
if Lemillion didn't have the quirk of permeability, Overhaul would have gotten away.
Absolutely. A
It
million
was solely the
percent.
fact that Lemillion was able to get there before everybody else and slow him down long enough for Deku to show up.
So, I want to pose a question here. Because, during that whole fight scene, right, you have, Lemillion loses his powers, right?
Yeah.
And then,
No spoiler
Jesus
warning.
Christ.
Just gonna say it.
Well, we already talked about
we
that.
already
We
had
already
the
talked about
warnings up.
Yeah,
we already
yeah,
had
yeah.
that up. The hell is that girl's name?
Eri.
Yeah. So she latches on to Deku for the fight, right? And her quirk is constantly rewinding time to heal his injuries while he's injuring himself, right?
Yes, because he can go 100% essentially because she's healing any injuries
Exactly,
that he's
and she's
sustaining.
healing him by reversing time within
Yes.
this bubble. So my
Yeah,
question here is, what do you think would have happened if she would have attached herself to Lemillion instead?
Well, see, the issue is that she can't control it. So Lemillion would have kept regressing. The only reason Deku was able to sustain it is because he kept injuring himself. If he
That's
wasn't
true.
constantly injuring himself, he would have started regressing as well. But the fact that he kept severely injuring himself, like he was breaking bones with every movement, that's the only reason he was able to sustain. And that's why when the fight ends, he starts, getting torn apart because he's not breaking his bones anymore. And that's why they have to separate her. And that's why the whole premise of Eri is like she may be able to restore Lemillion's powers at some point, but first she has to be able to control her own powers.
Right. No,
because she has
that makes total
no
sense.
control. Yeah. Yeah, no, they wrote that really well.
Yeah.
Because it's like they gave Lemillion an out to get his powers back, but they were like, we don't actually know if this is ever going to be an achievable thing.
Right.
It's just this is what we can hope for.
Yeah, this is something that could happen, but we don't know if she's ever going to progress to the point where she can do it.
Again, I don't know anything. I know a couple things past anime just because of spoilers. I don't think this is a true thing, but imagine this as an arc, right? So we know Overhaul's still alive, right? That we just know his hand is in one of those orbs.
Right.
So Overhaul comes back, right? He offers Lemillion his powers back, but obviously he would have to be a villain again. He would have to be a villain. And so he gets the opportunity to, because they kind of did this with Bakugo in the second season, I believe,
Yeah,
where
they
they
tried
captured
to for the League
Bakugo,
of Villains.
and Bakugo was like, no, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
I think it'd be cool, because that's the
loved
character
that.
you would that's the character you'd expect to get turned.
Yeah. Well, I
But
love
Lemillion-
that so much, that whole bit.
Yeah. Lemillion is the character you would never expect to get turned. But it's also someone who takes a lot of pride in his quirk.
I would not like that from a writing standpoint, because like what I like so much about Lemillion is just sort of like his wholesomeness and the fact that he just
But
wants
here's
to
my
be
thing.
a hero to save a million people. Like that was sort of his whole thing.
What if his only thing, what if he can go back to being a hero, all he has to do is give Eri back to Overhaul? So he gets his powers back and he can save 1 million people for the price of one person. And then they present it as like this ultimate choice that he has to make. Is he a hero for the right reasons, or is he a hero for his own reasons?
So my biggest question here is, was it ever shown that Overhaul has the ability to give quirks?
Well, no, but it is shown that Overhaul has the antidote for the quirk erasure.
That's true. But we could see a similar storyline without Overhaul, because
The League of Villains, but they didn't take the antidote. They just took the quirk erasing darts. So, we could hypothetically see the League of Villains do the same thing, but I think they did keep Overhaul alive for a reason. And obviously there is a certain amount of bias because he is my favorite character in the show. And I'd like to see him more.
Yeah.
But also, big spoiler alert, big spoiler alert, big spoiler alert. I accidentally went on the Overhaul Wikipedia page, and let's just say his status doesn't say dead.
Yeah, Wikipedia is a tough one, man.
Yeah, I was like, I went on there because I was like, okay, his quirk's name is Overhaul, right? That's not his name. That's just what they call him.
Yep.
And that's true. He does not have a villain name that he's given himself. It's just what people call him.
Right.
And that's just the name of his quirk.
Yeah.
But I happened to look over to the right where it gives you a bunch of stats, and he's not dead. Okay, that's all I'm saying. And I think that's intentional. So I think we will see Overhaul come back. And I think that is a major plot point. Obviously, they made someone so incredibly strong. I don't think they're just gonna fucking get rid of him.
No, and it wouldn't make sense to show. So, for instance, like you show that bit right where
they made it important to know that his hand still exists.
Well, I'm curious about whether or not he is still technically imprisoned or held in captivity or whatever, because so the League of Villains destroyed the truck that was transporting him. And he was still attached to that thing. They just left him there.
Yeah, I assume that he just went to jail, basically.
And we can make our assumptions here, but we don't really know. But the important part is that he is alive, and the area is still an important part of the show.
And that's another thing, is Eri could technically give him his hands back.
Yep, she absolutely could. And I feel like that's going to be a big driving force of when he does make his comeback.
Yeah.
Because it makes it that much more selfish and much more motivating for him.
Yeah, 100%. He has...
I'm really curious to see how, like, what he's not a threat anymore.
Yeah, currently he is no longer a threat, but also... we know that he did have a league of fucking supervillains at his disposal. So, I mean, there could be more than what we saw in the Overhaul arc.
Yeah.
And we did learn that these people aren't necessarily, like, fans of Overhaul. They're kind of, there because of the master of the actual...
the whole Yakuza thing. Like, they're all Yakuza. And I don't think they really delved into that too much, like how those people viewed him.
Well, they did it with the spear and the shield guy, because they talked about, like, why are you working for him? Because obviously the spear guy was pretty... He wasn't a bad guy. He just liked fighting.
Right.
Like, that was his whole thing.
I felt was really interesting as a character, actually.
Yeah. No, I really liked him as a character. Because even after the fight was done, he's like, all right, well, I'm going to help you guys heal up so we can fight again.
Yep.
And it's like, I like that character idea behind, like, this guy's doing bad just because it gets him the results he wants. He's not necessarily a bad person.
It's not a moral decision for him. It's just a matter of he wants to fight.
I like to fight.
This gets me the most fights.
Yeah, it was like, fighting pro heroes is the best I can get. And so to fight pro heroes, I have to be a pro villain.
Yep. It's just that's a logical decision that I find really interesting in an anime character, because it's not something that you normally see.
Yeah, and obviously Overhaul was like, I can give you this drug that'll make you even stronger, which is it's a no-brainer for that kind of mentality.
Well, I don't think he took that drug.
No, I think he had the option to, but he was like prideful.
I feel like that's how he got mixed up with the whole Yakuza thing, is because he heard about this drug and he wanted to fight the people that were on it. Because if you remember, there's those scenes where they're like, he's fighting other Yakuza members.
The people, in the cages. Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's like he likes the option, but he's so prideful in his own power that it wouldn't be something that he would personally take.
He's literally Kenpachi from Bleach.
I mean, like, his whole thing is telling the shield guy to fuck off so he can fight.
Yeah.
I liked that.
Yeah.
I liked the...
that made me laugh.
The non-compatible... Like, their abilities are compatible, but their personalities aren't.
Right.
And that was ultimately their downfall.
So, I feel like we could go on and on and on and on and on and on.
Yeah, it's like, but we should probably wrap up, because we're about to hit 2 hours.
Yeah, we're coming up on the 2 hour mark.
If you listen this far and you haven't watched My Hero, you definitely should.
I was like, at this point, go fucking watch My Hero.
Yeah.
The manga is also very good.
I would also like to send my condolences to the editor.
Yeah. I'm man.
Right here.
Sorry about that one, man.
This is basically a twofer.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, it was like, but to be fair, we missed last week, so they deserve it.
Yeah, I mean, we just recorded a feature-length film for you to edit.
Yeah, it's like luckily Jet's camera's off, so it's like my camera's the only one you really have to worry about.
Yeah, I had to turn mine off. It was goofing up.
Yeah, it was like
and...
so the visual should be pretty easy.
I'll come up with something for Jet's visual.
Yeah.
Just play an episode of My Hero. Actually, you can play like 4.
Actually,
to be fair,
just make sure that it's mirrored.
Yeah, mirrored and slightly color changed.
Yep.
Man, you're
noise.
learning all my tricks, how I'm going to subvert the copyright system in an upcoming video.
And also, don't start playing it until 5 minutes after the video starts.
Well,
that way the reviewer will look through
I'm
it.
pretty sure I recorded like the first 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah,
of this.
perfect.
So I'll send you
Perfect.
that, and then
Then you can just cut to anime episodes.
yep. Dude,
We can just use your guys' like video boxes to show the scenes that we're talking about.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm kidding though. That's a fuck ton of
That is
editing,
a
and we have
ton
to have this
of
out
editing.
tomorrow. But we're gonna go ahead and wrap up today. As always, we want to give a huge thank you to Rogue Energy. You can use code GameNight to save 10% off all Rogue Energy products, and that money will go right back into the channel, into creating more content like this and others. If you haven't already, we would appreciate if you would subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave it a like. Also, if we got anything wrong or anything like that, feel free to correct us in the comments below. I love those tasty interactions.
Debate about whether or not Avatar's an anime in the comments, please.
Yeah.
We need that algorithm.
Debate
push.
about...
I'll
Debate
save you that.
if Avatar-
It's not.
It's not easy. But we're going
But
to
it is,
go
though.
ahead and get on out of here. Thank you guys so much for watching another episode, and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.